Who's that? Commander Claw. Who's bad? Commander Claw.
Well, welcome back to another episode of Breaking Brews. I'm your host, Commander Claw, and my value proposition for you is ways you can use Zahur Glory's Past. If you had a chance to preview the Aetherdrift set, this may look like an underwhelming commander, but it is a ultimate sack engine. So if you have the idea to build the deck itself as a commander or throw them in the 99, this video will be of use for you. So without further ado, let's talk about Zahur Glory's Past. For white and black, that is Aristocrat colors. 3/2 body. Zombie Cat Warrior. We got some synergy right there, some creature type synergy that we can play with. He has start your engines. If you have no speed, it starts at 1. It increases once on each of your turns when an opponent loses life. Max speed is 4. We already know how this goes. We're already a week into Aetherdrift, and start your engine, you need to make your opponents lose life either through combat damage or non-combat damage or loss of life techniques. Anyway, this is where he shines. Sacrifice another creature. Surveil 1. Activate only once each turn. First of all, if you're new to Magic, activate only once each turn is a new thing, relatively like the last year and a half or 2 years of this video, right? Because if it didn't say activate only once each turn, this card would be crazy powerful. It would be in the realm of like auto includes, where you're just sacrificing anything and it becomes an infinite combo. So, why Zahur is good is because you can sacrifice a creature and surveil 1. Surveilling allows you to look at the top card of your library and put it onto or into the graveyard, allowing you for graveyard matters or graveyard shenanigans or reanimating artifacts, creatures, enchantments, planeswalkers, yada, yada, yada. So the key is just sacrificing creatures on each player's turn. And I believe that can actually be a benefit for you because you're affecting your opponent's game plan on their turn instead of doing it all at once. Anyway, moving on to his max speed ability. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, create a tapped 2/2 black zombie creature token. Cool. So all those creatures that you play, you sacrifice them. When you have max speed, you get rewarded. You get a creature on the battlefield. You can't beat that. That becomes sack fodder, becomes a blocker, or a additional cost payment where, sacrifice a creature as an additional cost, sacrifice a creature, do this. That's why this card is good. I think it's a good card as a underwhelming commander, inconspicuous commander, I should say. Because realistically, there's other commanders in this video that you want in your 99, and you have Zahur as your visible face commander. They won't see your goal or strategy coming. So moving on to that criteria, our first card. Arthreos, Shrouded Veiled. For 4 white and black, 4/7 body. That's a big creature right there. He is a god, enchantment creature god. He's indestructible. So if he's your secret commander, I call commanders that you really built the deck in the 99 a secret commander. Okay, just to let you know that. That's a real thing. He also says, as long as your devotion to white and black is less than 7, Aetherios isn't a creature. Why that's powerful? Because that means it can only be removed by enchantment removal versus creature removal. But when it becomes a creature, it's still indestructible. This bad boy is staying on the battlefield. Next up, at the beginning of your end step, put a coin counter on another target creature. Okay, that's interesting if you've never seen that. Whenever a creature with a coin counter on it dies or is put into exile, return that card to the battlefield under your control. Unfortunately, you cannot put a coin counter on Arthreos, but on creatures that you plan on reanimating, and you can, Black White has awesome creature types, angels, demons, like they get ugly and they get super powerful. You want to bring them back to life. So you put a coin counter on them at the beginning of your end step. And when you use Zahur at the same time, he allows you to sacrifice that creature with a coin counter and you bring it back to life. And you can do this on a player's turn. So let's start brewing a little bit. All those creatures with enter the battlefield abilities that come back onto the battlefield after you sacrifice it with a coin counter, bam, you see where I'm going? You get the repeated value. And you can do this on another player's turn. So it's like this guy's almost encouraging you to have Aristocrat mid-range control as a commander. Yeah, yeah. Don't want to talk too much about Arthreos because I got another awesome commander that I really love the art for a lot. I'm a cat fan anyway, so let's talk about it. Okay, I need you to lock in. We got Brismaz, Blight Oreskos for 2 white and a black, 3/4 body, Phyrexian cat, legendary creature. He says whenever you cast a Phyrexian creature or artifact creature spell, incubate X, where X is that spell's mana value. Create an incubator token with X +1/+1 counters on it, and tap 2, transform this artifact. It transforms into a 0/0 Phyrexian artifact creature. At the beginning of each end step, if a Phyrexian died under your control this turn, proliferate. Okay, let me tell you why this bad cat is nasty. I guarantee you, your pod has probably never played against this commander. The art is cool, and his effects get ugly for your opponents quickly. It goes tall, and it goes wide, and it's artifacts. Artifacts are powerful because they end up reanimating themselves, and artifacts in general do almost every effect in the game. All right. So this is a artifact creature type of deck. There's a lot of Phyrexian creatures, but there's more artifact creatures. And artifact creatures can be indestructible. So bear with me. Let me tell you. What you're going to do with this commander is play a bunch of artifact creatures, whether they're 1 CMC, 2 CMC, 3 CMC. They have the modular ability. So when they die, you move the +1/+1 counters onto another creature. Okay? And remember, with Zahur, you can control when they die, either on your turn, your opponent's turn, whatever. And remember, there's other death effects. So when something creature dies, this happens. When this artifact leaves the battlefield, this happens. Don't forget about that. This cat is really nasty. He makes Phyrexian incubator tokens quickly, and even though it says tap 2 to transform, you'll be surprised because you cast a 3 CMC spell, you get rewarded with a 3 CMC creature later on. And you get to proliferate. Why is that powerful? Because you're adding to the +1/+1 counter theme or other coin counters that you can possibly move onto other creatures. I'm just saying. And proliferate, you can add to loyalty counters for your planeswalkers. And I believe Aristocrat planeswalkers have the best ultimates. They do some nasty things. I should have put that on here. But anyway, moving on to my favorite card that I've routinely played with and surprisingly was just like enamored with the card. It is an enchantment. Let me talk about it. Okay, the card is Spirit Sister's Call for 3 white and a black. I need you to lock in again. It's an enchantment. At the beginning of your end step, choose target permanent card in your graveyard. You may sacrifice a permanent that shares a card type with the chosen card. If you do, return the chosen card from your graveyard to the battlefield and it gains. If this permanent will leave the battlefield, exile instead of putting it into anywhere else. The reason why this card is good is because it is a powerful reanimation effect that can bring back any type. And the way you abuse this card is you have cards with dual types, like we have Whip of Erebos. It is an enchantment and artifact. So if you decide to sacrifice this, you can bring back either an enchantment or artifact. Remember, there's artifact lands, there's enchantment lands, there's enchantment creatures, there's artifact creatures. You see the duality, what I'm trying to share you with the reanimation effect here? Bam! Abusive card, awesome card, not talked about enough, great reanimator. Let's move on to some more cards that can reduce the cost of spells. Okay, I need y'all to start here on the left-hand side. A Cursed Witch for 3 and a black, 4/2 body human shaman. Spells your opponents cast that target a Cursed Witch costs 1 less to cast. When a Cursed Witch dies, return it to the battlefield transformed under your control attached to target opponent. Reason why this is good with Zahur, because you can sacrifice her. You can sacrifice her when you want to. Oh, and to think about it, I think what a lot of new players don't know is block sacking. What is block sacking? So take the scenario. You get attacked by an opponent. You decide to block with a Cursed Witch, 4/2 body. You trade 2/3 power and toughness. Whatever. Both creatures are going to die. But you decided to block with a Cursed Witch, and yes, you can sacrifice her to Zahur as a stack trigger. So the creature gets blocked, and you get to sacrifice her. And if you have max speed, you get to replace it with a 2/2 zombie creature. You're winning here. Don't forget block sacking. Anyway, a curse was transformed into Infectious Curse. Infectious Curse is an enchantment aura. So you enchant a player. You put it on the player. You put it on their forehead, put it on their shoulder, put it on their chest, whatever. Spells you cast at target enchanted player cost 1 less to cast. Okay. That don't sound too good, but I had to give you an example. Anyway, at the beginning of enchanted player's upkeep, that player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. A nice drain life effect on an opponent. Believe me, 1 life adds up. And either way, either opponent loses life or you gain a life. It adds up and it counts. Where it shines is a spell like Worst Fears over here on the right hand side. You see that bad boy costs 8 mana. When you see something 8 CMC, that should say game winner. Let me read this card to you. Worst Fears, 7 colorless, 1 black sorcery. You control target player's turn during their. You control target player during that player's next turn. Exile Worst Fears. You're telling me for 7 mana, because we're going to use that Infectious Curse ability and control your next player's turn? Ooh, target player's turn? Yeah, the reason why that's nasty, you can have them do all the things that they're trying to do with their deck and make it bad for them, make it detrimental for them. You can sacrifice their board if they got stuff that they need to sacrifice. You can make them attack players that they don't want to attack. You can make them do things that is just bad for them. That's why Worst Fears is good, and you put them on the other end. So, I got some more cards for you. Please stick around. I'm not gonna lie to you, I got a little carried away with this commander because it is, at first, it looks underwhelming, but I really realize it is a nice sacrifice engine and it goes well with so many cards. So I'm trying to encourage players like yourself, you viewer, to add this card into your deck. Anyway, let's start off to the right here. We have Academy Rector for 3 and a white. I'm gonna straight up. It's a very expensive card. I believe it's on the reserve list. It's like $50. But what I want to highlight is the reason why it goes with Zahur is because it is a creature that is an enchantment. So creatures you can sacrifice to Zahur. So you're getting double the value. That's what I'm just trying to teach on this slide right here. Anyway, Academy Rector says when Academy Rector is put into a graveyard from play, you may remove Academy Rector from the game. If you do, search your library for an enchantment card and put that card into play. Then shuffle your library. Easy. It's just an enchantment tutor. Next up, in the middle, we have Moon Blessed Cleric for 2 and a white, human elf cleric. When it enters, you may search your library for an enchantment card, reveal it, then shuffle and put that card on top. When can you do this? You're going to sacrifice this on the player's turn on, like the previous player, not the previous player, the turn before you go. So you can draw that card, that enchantment card, and put it on top on your turn. You see what I'm saying right there? I probably said that wrong. Let me slow down. Okay. Moon Blessed Cleric is awesome, right? If you have Zahur on the battlefield with him, you want to sacrifice him the player on the player's turn before you take your turn. So that way, when you sacrifice him on that player's turn, that enchantment goes on your top of your library and you draw that card on your turn. That's what I wanted to say. Cool. Next up, we got Bitter Heart Witch for 4 and black. 1/2 body, human shaman. She has death touch. That means your opponents will think twice about attacking you. She says whenever she dies, you may search your library for a cursed card. I believe the best cursed cards are in black and white, okay? Put it onto the battlefield, attach to target player, then shuffle your library. So literally for 5 mana, and you sacrifice this witch, you search your library for any of those cursed cards, and you automatically attach it to one of your opponents. And guess what? If you do this on another player's turn, it can be very powerful depending on the curse. So it could be planned on their upkeep. So you would do it on the player's turn beforehand, just like we did with Moon Blessed Cleric. See what I mean? Moving on to some more cards, and they are commanders that I believe Zahur is better in. Yo, yo, yo. So, we're going to talk about Carmen Cruel Skymarcher. That's a cool name to say. Carmen Cruel Skymarcher for 3 white and a black, 2/2 body, vampire soldier, flying whenever a player sacrifices a permanent, but a +1/+1 counter on Carmen. San Diego. And you gain 1 life. Okay, cool. Players sacrifice permanents all the time. So she can grow pretty big. Like she's going to be very a tall commander. And she's on a 2/2. So the reason why they designed it because they know players sacrifice permanents often. So expect her to be at 10/10 if she stays on the battlefield. Whenever Carmen attacks, return up to 1 target permanent card with mana value less than or equal to Carmen's power from your graveyard to the battlefield. She's nasty because it says target permanent. So that means you can bring back planeswalkers, creatures, enchantments, uh, ooh, lands, because lands have 0 mana value. Ooh. She is an awesome commander because you go tall with power and she has reanimation effects and it's on an attack trigger. So that gets uglier for things that have ETBs that you want to do when she attacks. What are we talking about here? Otherwise, we're going to move on to Elinda the Dusk Rose, a very popular commander. And if you never played her, she is confusing for new players because you will be frustrated playing against an opponent with this because I would say if you're meta or you don't have cards that exile this commander, you're in a world of pain, tormenting, I promise you. Yeah. Anyway, let me explain her. Elinda Dusk Rose for 2 white and a black. She's a 1/1 with lifelink. Doesn't seem much. Listen, if you're new to Magic, vampires are powerful. They just look weak, but they are powerful. She says whenever another creature dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Elinda. So that means your opponent's creatures, when they die, she gets a +1/+1. So all those players that are going wide with creature tokens, and somebody casts a board wipe, and they give Elinda indestructible, oh, she gets to be very big. Then she says when Elinda dies, create X 1/1 white vampire creature tokens with lifelink, where X is her power. So when she becomes a 10/10 and you decide to sacrifice her, you create 10 1/1 white vampire tokens with lifelink. You don't think that's powerful, right? Just like it doesn't, right now, I'm saying it doesn't seem powerful. But where she gets nasty is all those aristocrat strategies where you've gone wide and players lose life for each creature that died this turn. That's where she gets nasty. She's like an explosive token generator, and she's a synergy for creatures dying. That's why she's amazing. Moving on to my very last card. So we got the Embalmed Ascendant. I had to add this card. It's from the Aetherdrift set. I feel like it would get lost. I really added it for myself, but for viewers who didn't really look throughout the entire set, here's a good card. Embalmed Ascendant for 1 white and a black, 1/2 body. It's a zombie. Start your engines. You know what that means. You need to do damage to your opponents, either by combat or non-combat damage. When this creature enters, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Cool. Max speed. Whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Cool. Another aristocratic strategy. Draining life and you gain 1 life. Another option for winning the game. You just need some kind of sacrifice outlet, sacrifice engine, which is Zahur, but you only can do it 1 time. But anyway, another sacrifice engine, probably something more powerful, and a bunch of creatures to kill your opponents with. That's what this is. Moving on to the summary. Yes, so to summarize, Zahur, I think, is a very good, underwhelming commander, inconspicuous commander. If you're going to build a deck with a secret commander, which I mentioned before, he is a great commander as your face commander, and you can have a bunch of strategies within your 99 to destroy your opponents. If you decide to use him as your commander, I don't think he's that bad. I don't think he's that bad. I would actually kind of build him Voltron, really, and use sacrifice fodder from the zombies that you make. And the other creatures that you're casting have a bunch of ETB abilities. So That's my opinion. Hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe for more content on Aetherdrift Commanders or upcoming sets. Great.